This story begins with Deuk-pal, a dangerous and famous gangster. Despite this, he is constantly preparing to pass South Korea's most difficult exam because his dream is to study at university. But then his gang boss gives him an honor. If he gives up his dream of going to university, he will be made the leader of the entire gang. Deuk-pal replies that he will think about it and let him know. On his way, he meets Yi-heon, a high school student so broken by life that he is about to jump off a bridge to end his life. Deuk-pal steps forward to save Yi-heon and stops his fall. Both of them somehow survive, but at that moment Deuk-pal himself is killed by a car. But look at the twist of fate. Just before Deuk-pal's death, his soul enters Yi-heon's body. He now tries to convince his gang friends that he is Deuk-pal, just in Yi-heon's body, but no one believes him. Instead, they blame him for their boss's death. Deuk-pal repeatedly tries to return to his old body, but his original body has grown cold. He attempts to reverse time by jumping off the bridge again, but the result is only a broken leg. After 3 days in a coma, he learns from the doctor that his original body has already been cremated. With all hope lost, he decides that he must now live the high school life as Yi-heon. This is where the real journey of the gangster in school begins. Deuk-pal starts to understand Yi-heon's life. He discovers that Yi-heon's entire life has been incredibly painful. He was constantly bullied at school, and everyone found him strange because he was always staring at a classmate, when the reality was that he just wanted to be his friend. The bullies forced him to steal alcohol and jewelry from home. And the truth of Yi-heon's life was even more bitter. He is the son of the president of a large construction company, but his mother is an alcoholic and a single woman who was once the president's mistress. His entire existence was a hidden secret that the company's secretary desperately wanted to keep concealed, sometimes by threatening Yi-heon and sometimes by getting his mother drunk. Yi-heon's life was made even more difficult by his shy and fearful nature. But now Deuk-pal decides that he will change this boy's life. He gives Yi-heon's personality a complete makeover. He gets a haircut, buys a new uniform, cleans his desk, and starts working out. Meanwhile, when he goes to buy books, he meets Si-kyung, his classmate. But Yi-heon's old look was so goth and depressed that Si-kyung doesn't recognize the new Yi-heon. Gradually, Deuk-pal and Si-kyung become good friends, and Si-kyung becomes quite friendly with him. However, as the first day of class begins, Deuk-pal notices that Yi-heon always hid his true circumstances. Despite being rich, he would tell his driver to drop him several blocks away from school so no one would know he had money. Deuk-pal thinks, all this has to change now. In school, he treats the teachers with respect, and he is completely delighted to see the air conditioner in the classroom. The other students look at him and think he is a new boy, and several girls are infatuated with his new look. But when attendance is called and the name Yi-heon is read, everyone is shocked. This is the same old emo boy whom everyone ignored and called a creep. Even Si-kyung is surprised because he hadn't recognized him in the library. During the break, Yi-heon's old bullies arrive, led by Yi-min. They try to intimidate him, but Deuk-pal says with a cold smile, "I was waiting for you." He easily takes down one of the thugs, but as he tries to hit the second, he realizes this is not his real body. It is Yi-heon's weak body. As a result, the bullies severely beat him and knock him unconscious. In his unconscious state, he reaches his subconscious, where he meets the real Yi-heon. Yi-heon tells him to get out of his body because he wanted to die, but Deuk-pal firmly says he will not. Now he will save him, make him a good student, and give him the strength to fight those bullies. Then Yi-heon's shadow disappears and Deuk-pal regains consciousness. Si-kyung arrives and immediately takes him to the nurse's room. There, Si-kyung apologizes and says he didn't recognize him because of his new look. He also says that they are actually best friends. Hearing this, Deuk-pal immediately acts and says he had an accident and lost his memory, but if he wants, they can be friends again. Si-kyung laughs loudly and says, "Don't make up a silly story. We were never friends. Who are you actually?" Deuk-pal shrugs it off, telling him to consider him crazy, and returns to class, but Si-kyung's suspicious eyes remain fixed on him. Sitting in class, Deuk-pal is astonished by the colorful notes, wondering if girls can study with such style. He excitedly says he wants notes like that too. The girls tell him they are all going to the stationery shop. Deuk-pal eagerly says he will go with them, drop them off in his car, and even treat them. Initially, half the girls refuse, but eventually they agree to his insistence. At the stationery shop, Deuk-pal becomes a king of markers and slowly wins their friendship. The next day in class, Si-kyung is still doubtful. Is this really the same Yi-heon? because Yi-heon is no longer the same. He has friends, he looks fit, and he talks comfortably with teachers. After this, the story becomes more intense. The gangster Deuk-pal meets Yi-heon's father's secretary. She tells him that she will now change his school and send him straight abroad because her real plan is to get rid of Yi-heon and his mother and become the president's wife herself. Hearing this, Deuk-pal explodes in anger and clearly states that she will no longer be able to manipulate him because he is no longer the fearful old Yi-heon. The secretary cannot tolerate this insult and resolves to teach him a lesson. For this, she hires the very gang that was once Deuk-pal's own to make Yi-heon's life hell. Deuk-pal asks Si-kyung for help and Si-kyung helps him without hesitation. But that very night, Si-kyung has a frightening dream. He remembers how on the night Yi-heon was about to jump off the bridge he had spoken to him. He had said that he knew Yi-heon's secret and if Yi-heon did not help him with his studies he would tell everyone. This hints that Si-kyung is hiding a deep secret. The next day is a school holiday, so Deuk-pal decides he must strengthen his weak body. He goes to a public bathhouse for training, where he runs into two thugs from another gang. They try to intimidate him, but Deuk-pal immediately hits them with such a powerful low blow in his true style that both are knocked out. He then announces, "I am Deuk-pal, the top man of my gang." Seeing his strength and confidence, the two thugs believe him. Frightened, both of them go straight to report to their new boss, Dong-soo, who was once Deuk-pal's close friend and subordinate but has now formed his own gang and started hiring schoolboys including Yi-heon's former bullies. Back home, Deuk-pal again faces Si-kyung's suspicion. Si-kyung still cannot believe this is truly Yi-heon. He breaks into Yi-heon's room and inspects everything. He even suspects that this new Yi-heon might have killed and hidden the real emo Yi-heon. But Deuk-pal catches him and clearly states that he is not an imposter, he is just no longer the same as before. During this time, Yi-heon's mother's condition suddenly worsens because Deuk-pal had thrown all the alcohol out of the house. In anger and broken spirits, the mother raises her hand to him, screaming that she was once a famous actress but lost everything when Yi-heon was born. Despite this painful scene, Deuk-pal calms her down. He tells her she should be happy again, and if his presence is a burden, she can ignore him. After this emotional moment, the scene shifts to a studio where the two are listening to old music. Deuk-pal speaks his mind, saying he made the change only to help his mother and save Yi-heon from bullying. He believes that those who oppress others in the world must be punished for the world to be a livable place. Just then, Si-kyung receives a call from his father. As soon as he answers the phone, he becomes agitated, biting his nails, and his anxiety is evident. As soon as the call ends, he rushes home and we meet his father for the first time. The truth about Si-kyung's real home life slowly begins to emerge. His father is no ordinary man but a high-profile prosecutor, strict, cold, and a complete control freak. He has so much control over Si-kyung's life that he has a tracking app installed on his mobile phone to monitor his movements at all times. As a child, he often abandoned him alone on the street as punishment. This is why Si-kyung is internally terrified of his father and is forced to always be the class topper. The next day, Deuk-pal clashes with Yi-heon's old bullies. They show him videos of his own painful moments, which makes Deuk-pal's blood boil. In anger, he breaks the bully's phone and punches Yi-min, the leader, right in the face. A fierce fight breaks out, and this time Deuk-pal defeats everyone. He is about to deliver the final punch to Yi-min when the class teacher suddenly arrives and stops the fight. It is revealed here that Si-kyung and the teacher both witnessed the entire fight, and it also comes out that Si-kyung always saw the abuse Yi-heon suffered but never saved him. The teacher punishes the bullies, but they continue to torment other children. Deuk-pal repeatedly teaches them lessons. The bullies even start to think that he might be trained by the Deuk-pal gang. Slowly, he forces them to quit smoking, stop bothering students, and focus on their studies. His intention was clear: to change them. But in the meantime, Yi-min reveals another secret. It was actually Si-kyung who spread the rumor throughout the school that Yi-heon was a stalker. He had even filed an unofficial harassment report against him. This was why everyone in the class isolated and shunned Yi-heon. Hearing this, Deuk-pal becomes more alert, thinking that Si-kyung's true face is still hidden. After all this, when Deuk-pal fails his exams despite studying day and night, he is forced to ask Si-kyung to be his tutor. But then the captain of the basketball team enters the scene. He again calls Yi-heon a stalker and pressures Si-kyung to tutor him. Hearing this, Deuk-pal immediately stands up and says, "If you want to consider yourself a man, come on to the court. If you defeat me in basketball, you can repeat the accusation. Otherwise, you must apologize in front of everyone." The captain thinks Yi-heon is just a weak boy, but on the court, Deuk-pal shows his real skill. To everyone's surprise, he easily defeats the captain. Then, in a wise old man's tone, he tells everyone, never judge a person based only on a rumor. Maybe they are broken inside and need help, not hate. Hearing these words, Si-kyung's heart begins to change. At the same time, he gets a call from the lab confirming that the hair he secretly took from Deuk-pal's clothes is indeed Yi-heon's. Now Si-kyung completely trusts him and says he will help him with his studies. The two become good friends again. They talk and discuss life. Si-kyung slowly realizes that Deuk-pal, now Yi-heon, is actually a bit old-fashioned. He only drinks tea, no soda, no fizzy drinks. Deuk-pal then asks him directly, "If you were so smart, why didn't you stop the bullies in my old life? Why didn't you save me?" Si-kyung replies in a cold voice, "School can't always protect you. True justice will come when a person takes revenge themselves, even if it means killing someone." Hearing this, Deuk-pal understands how dark Si-kyung is inside, that he is truly capable of killing someone. The next day, report cards are handed out. Deuk-pal's level is 8, the lowest, while Si-kyung's is 1, the top. Si-kyung jokes, "Let's drown our worries with sweets and cold drinks. After all, we are young." Then Si-kyung offers him a pineapple cake. Deuk-pal says yes without thinking. Si-kyung immediately stops him because Yi-heon was allergic to pineapple. But Deuk-pal doesn't give up his eating habits and eats jelly mixed with pineapple, resulting in a direct trip to the hospital. When he regains consciousness, Si-kyung is broken and shouts angrily, "If you are really Yi-heon, how could you not know you are allergic to pineapple?" He feels guilty and accepts that Deuk-pal might be telling the truth about having amnesia. Then he reveals his secret. The real Yi-heon had once trusted him and asked for help because he was being bullied, but due to Si-kyung's cowardice, he refused to help and pushed him out of the house. After that, he never saw Yi-heon again, and the burden of this has tormented him ever since. Now he wants to apologize to Yi-heon one more time. Hearing this, Deuk-pal says, "Don't worry, one day Yi-heon will return to his body and then you will have a chance to apologize." On the other side, Dong-soo receives a contract to kidnap Yi-heon's mother. This plan was hatched by the cunning secretary. Dong-soo hires Yi-min, the old bully leader, for this. At night, when Deuk-pal and Si-kyung are returning home, they see Yi-heon's mother being forcibly taken away. Both immediately run after them. Yi-min didn't know the real plan was a kidnapping, so he runs away in fear upon seeing it. Si-kyung tries to save Yi-heon's mother, but the thugs beat him and knock him down. Then Deuk-pal fights them alone in front of everyone, but as one of them pulls out a knife, the situation becomes serious. Just then, the police arrive and all the thugs run away. Yi-heon's mother is taken to the hospital. When the police question Deuk-pal, he hides the truth and says there was no kidnapping, his mother just fainted. And someone tried to steal their car. Si-kyung angrily says they should have told the police the truth, but Deuk-pal explains that if they had, the mafia would return more dangerously and kill his mother. Deuk-pal now understands that this is all the secretary's doing, who wants to eliminate Yi-heon's mother forever. Deuk-pal vows to teach her a lesson. Upon returning home, Si-kyung confronts his father, who questions him angrily about being late and covered in bruises. Si-kyung fearfully lies, "Someone robbed me on the street." His father doesn't believe Si-kyung's lie at all. He angrily says, "Take me to the place where you were attacked." On the way to extract the truth, he reveals himself as a prosecutor and straight up scolds his son for lying. Hearing such bitter words, Si-kyung's mind goes blank. He falls into a trance-like state and faints right there. He is immediately taken to the hospital. There, his mother, who is always on business trips, calls and angrily tells her husband, "How long will you torture our son? Let him live like a normal child." This clearly indicates that this is not the first time Si-kyung has fainted like this. The next day, Deuk-pal calls the cunning secretary to confront her, but all her numbers are off. He is forced to increase the home security so that no one can ever snatch his mother again. Then, upon returning to school, he is happy when the girls with the markers and some boys from the football club say, "Brother, no matter what, we are always with you." He tries to contact Si-kyung but finds out he is in the hospital. A few days later they meet and Deuk-pal teaches him self-defense with a punch. Then both go to Yi-heon's house to study. Meanwhile, on the same day, Yi-min, burdened by guilt, is wandering outside Yi-heon's house because he wants to know if Yi-heon's mother is all right. By chance, the three of them run into each other. When Yi-min finds out it's Yi-heon's house, he looks a little embarrassed, but then he blurts out the truth. He only has a little rice left to eat. He is hungry. Hearing this, Deuk-pal invites him home for a meal. Upon reaching the house, Yi-min is astonished by the luxurious life and asks, "Can I stay here tonight? My heating has been cut off because we haven't paid the bill yet." Deuk-pal, seeing his condition, agrees but says he will have to sleep on the mattress. Si-kyung immediately interjects, "I will stay here too, I still don't trust this bully." At night, Yi-min talks openly with Deuk-pal like old friends. He even says, "I'll stay here for a few days now. In my opinion, if two people have already killed each other, the score is settled." But Deuk-pal gives a cold reply, "You are still guilty. You have shown no remorse," and in anger calls him a murderer because the emo boy Yi-heon almost died trying to jump off the bridge due to his bullying. Hearing this, Yi-min is extremely agitated and screams, "I am not a murderer." Hurt, he says he will leave. Then Si-kyung intervenes and says, "I saw you at the kidnapping site that night." Yi-min finally breaks down and admits, "Yes, I was there, but I didn't know they were going to kidnap Yi-heon's mother." Then Deuk-pal comes forward and directly demands, "Tell me the thug's hideout, I need their location." In this way, Deuk-pal the gangster sets out to confront his enemies, but upon arriving there he himself falls into their trap. Si-kyung is about to call the police, but he remembers what Deuk-pal told him, "Never drag the police into this." Because of this, he ignores the police and calls his prosecutor father directly, without realizing how dangerous the coming moment is. Deuk-pal is taken to a deserted field, but his sharp hearing makes him realize how many mafia members are standing around him. Then Dong-soo, his old friend and once loyal subordinate, appears before him. Dong-soo blurts out the truth in front of everyone. This is the guy who caused boss Deuk-pal's death. Hearing this, all the mafia members attack Deuk-pal, but Deuk-pal alone overpowers everyone, defeating them one by one. However, when he faces the fat gangster, he can't lift him and faints as he falls to the ground. Meanwhile, Yi-min is cleaning the classroom as punishment at school, but suddenly his own friends betray him and tell him that his gang's thugs are looking for him. A terrified Yi-min runs away and bumps into Si-kyung on the street. They hide together. There, Yi-min tells him the truth about where Yi-heon Deuk-pal is and that the mafia is going to kidnap his mother again. Hearing this, Si-kyung's heart sinks and he clearly says, "I will definitely go save my friend. I am not a coward." In the meantime, Deuk-pal regains consciousness and only Dong-soo is in front of him. He asks directly, "Why did you form another gang in my name? And tell me, did you kill the old boss?" Hearing this, Dong-soo flares up and says that the truth is the boss was severely injured in an attack by another gang right after Deuk-pal's death. Hearing this, Deuk-pal's heart breaks. He reminds his old friend of things only the two of them knew, like his leg injury. Then he says, "Friend, don't listen to this woman, let me go." Perhaps due to their old friendship or maybe a glimpse of the old boss in his face, Dong-soo agrees and lets him go. But as soon as Deuk-pal comes out, Si-kyung and his prosecutor father enter. The prosecutor sternly gives an order, "Get all those mafia members out of Yi-heon's mother's house." In this way, everyone is removed and Deuk-pal returns home safely. On the other side, the secretary is furious because Dong-soo left the job unfinished. The truth is revealed. Dong-soo was only following her orders because that woman had paid for the surgery of the boss, who was brutally beat and in critical condition. The gang did not have the money, so Dong-soo was bound by that debt. Now he clearly says, "I will not let that boy Deuk-pal go under any circumstances." Meanwhile, Deuk-pal goes to the study room. But then a girl hands him a drink, but the reference was lost on Deuk-pal. Also, he can't meet Si-kyung now because his father has strictly forbidden it in return for helping to save him from the kidnapping that day. Furthermore, his father forcibly made him hang out with the basketball team captain, and Si-kyung often gets so angry that he is ready to hit him because the captain always speaks ill of his friend. Still, Si-kyung secretly talks to Deuk-pal using his mother's old tablet. Time passes and the entire class goes to the beach for the annual photo. There, Deuk-pal brings gifts for his female friends, and one of them is so impressed that she holds his hand. After this, they all play a game of identifying old songs, and Deuk-pal easily wins because the songs are from his time. Even while taking the photo, when everyone is striking cool poses, Deuk-pal stands in an uncle-style pose and everyone laughs. Then, Deuk-pal goes looking for Yi-min, who is hiding in his part-time job so the mafia can't catch him. Deuk-pal assures him that everything is fine now and he should return to school. Suddenly, Si-kyung calls. He's broken, fed up with life and standing on the same bridge ready to jump. Deuk-pal somehow calms him down and asks him to come to the beach with him for some relief, and to take his mind off his father's cruelty. They both leave, but Dong-soo and the fat gangster follow them under the secretary's orders. When the two want to stay in a hotel at night, they are refused entry because they are minors. Out of necessity, they go to an old inn where Deuk-pal tells the inn owner that he knows Deuk-pal of the Chilsung gang and knows a secret about him. One of his lower parts doesn't work after an accident. You understand now. Hearing this, the owner is stunned and gives them a room. Dong-soo and the fat gangster also stay at the same inn. At night, Si-kyung openly expresses his pain. His father has severely tortured him since childhood, sometimes throwing him out of the house for not cleaning the room table, sometimes burning his toys. Even when his little puppy died, he blamed Si-kyung for everything. And since then, Si-kyung began to endure everything, quietly obeying his every command. But the limit was reached when his father installed a camera in his room to watch him 24 hours a day. That day, Si-kyung banged his head against the wall until he fainted and ran away from home as soon as he woke up. Hearing all this, Deuk-pal tells him, "Call me whenever you need help." At night, Deuk-pal calls Si-kyung's father and says he will bring Si-kyung back to school tomorrow. But he requests him not to lay a hand on his son anymore because the boy is very afraid of him. Hearing this, Si-kyung's father hangs up the phone angrily. The next day, Deuk-pal calls the fat gangster and asks to meet. In his sleep, the fat gangster mumbles, "You are my boss, Deuk-pal," and hearing this, Dong-soo and the fat gangster immediately leave to meet him. This is where the story gets even more intense. When Dong-soo and the fat gangster meet Yi-heon, they tell him to stop the act. "You are not our boss's son." But Yi-heon calmly says, "I am the real Deuk-pal." And as proof, he reveals the full truth of the fat gangster's life, his father's struggle, his sister's illness, and how the real Deuk-pal paid all the hospital bills. Then he tells Dong-soo's truth, that he was an orphan, and Deuk-pal raised him like a son from the age of 19, pulling him out of poverty. Hearing this, the two gangsters break down, tears come to their eyes. Finally, they accept that Yi-heon is their boss's true son. After this, Yi-heon also accepts this identity and calls them uncles. The three of them sit and eat together, and Yi-heon introduces his friend Si-kyung to them. Then, Yi-heon makes a big demand. He wants both uncles to catch the cunning secretary and bring her before him. He also makes sure that Yi-min will no longer be troubled by the bullies or the mafia. But another commotion starts at school. Si-kyung's father arrives and tries to lay a hand on Yi-heon, calling him bad company. In this tension, Si-kyung has another panic attack and faints. By the time Si-kyung regains consciousness, Yi-heon has confronted his father. He says, "Your perfect parenting is suffocating your son. Tell me yourself, did your father do the same to you?" Hearing this, Si-kyung's father flares up and raises his hand, but Yi-heon stops his hand. Angrily, he says, "This chain of abuse must end here. Your son attempted suicide. Do you want him to do it again?" After this confrontation, when Si-kyung regains consciousness, Yi-heon tells him that he talked to his father and that he, too, should now show courage and confront him. Slowly, a change comes in Si-kyung. He stands up against the basketball captain, resumes studying with Yi-heon, and says he will talk to his father face to face now. Meanwhile, Yi-min's condition worsens. His own friends surround him and threaten to hand him over to the mafia so they can secure a place in their gang. But Yi-min stands firm, saying that he was running from them because he considered them friends and didn't want to fight them. But now, out of necessity, he is ready to fight for his self-defense. In the meantime, Yi-heon gets another shock. His mother's medicine runs out, the same medicine the secretary used to bring. When Yi-heon goes to get new medicine, the nurse warns him, "These are very strong drugs. They can cause hallucinations, addiction, and mental deterioration." Hearing this, Yi-heon's blood boils. He immediately calls Dong-soo and says, "Someone tried to poison my mother." Dong-soo angrily confronts the secretary. He clearly says, "I have been helping you until now because I had to repay your debt. But from today, Yi-heon is my nephew and I will protect him." The secretary laughs and says it's all a lie, but Dong-soo doesn't back down. He says he won't kill her today because his debt is paid, but he orders her to apologize to Yi-heon and then pushes her out. The secretary, maddened by anger, now hires Yi-heon's own police to take revenge by bribing them. Yi-heon then finds out that Si-kyung's father has reported him to the school, accusing him of giving his son alcohol. In fact, Si-kyung's father spread a false rumor that Yi-heon took him to a motel and beat him so badly that he fainted. It was clear that all this was a lie, but the secretary doesn't stop there. She bribes Yi-heon's own police and files a false case that Yi-heon had abused them. Yi-heon angrily says he is not going to give up. The secretary then calls him and proudly says that she sent the police so he will rot in jail and reform school. To this, Yi-heon taunts her. Even if you send me to reform school, you will never be the president's second wife, you will always just be a secretary. Hearing this, the secretary becomes furious and threatens to have his mother locked up in a remote mental hospital where he will never find her. The next day, Si-kyung arrives home with the basketball captain under pressure from his father, and is shocked to find out that his own father has filed a school violence case against Yi-heon. On the other side, Yi-heon notices that children are staring at him and isolating him from the group, but his squad of friends supports him and says they are with him. Si-kyung then comes forward and clarifies that it was all a misunderstanding. He and Yi-heon are actually best friends, and there was no fight. Just then, Yi-min enters and asks about his bully friends. Yi-heon goes to the same bullies and tells them, "Withdraw the complaint, or I will show your bullying videos in front of everyone, and then you will be proved to be the real criminals and go straight to reform school." But the bullies arrogantly provoke Yi-min to also file a complaint against Yi-heon. Yi-min angrily says this is wrong, "You guys are the real thugs." But the bullies expose him. "Don't be so righteous, brother. Remember when Yi-heon stole the jewelry? You also enjoyed that money and you yourself used to beat, hit, and insult him." Hearing this, Yi-min is struck as if by lightning. He realizes that he, too, was a bully, a bad person. Upon reaching home, he is hurt even more when his sister tells him she was fired from the salon. She cries out that the house doesn't feel like a home, there is no water, no gas, and her brother is always wandering outside. Yi-min breaks down. He thinks that Yi-heon might file a harassment case against him, and he doesn't know if he will stand with him anymore. A light moment occurs when Min-hee asks Yi-heon out on a date because she was always sweet to him. But Yi-heon refuses, saying he is too busy. Then another girl comes, the same girl who always gave him tea in the study hall. She also asks him out on a date. Yi-heon refuses again, but this time says, "Next time I will take you out for food and tea." Everyone is shocked and the fire of jealousy ignites in Min-hee's heart. She sulks and asks, "So tell me who is prettier between the two of us?" Yi-heon tries to handle the situation and says, "Both of you are beautiful, the only difference is that the tea girl is tall and Min-hee's face is cute and round." Hearing this, Min-hee is even more offended and blushes with embarrassment. Poor Yi-heon tries to fix the situation but finally says in exasperation, "I don't even understand what girls want." And now for the biggest twist in the story. Si-kyung clearly says that he will testify for his friend Yi-heon and prove that he is the real victim. But his father stops him and threatens to throw him out of the house if he does. Still, Si-kyung doesn't back down. Instead, he goes to Yi-min and asks for the bullying videos. But Yi-min says that all the videos have been deleted and that if he comes forward he will be sent to reform school, which will ruin his studies. So Yi-min, full of guilt, goes to Yi-heon. He kneels and apologizes, saying he cannot help him in court because it would crush his dream and his father's hard work. He recently saw his father saving money day and night for his university and he doesn't want to disappoint him. Yi-heon lifts him up and says, "Don't worry, I will handle everything. You just make your life better, study and be a good person." He even invites him for a meal. Hearing these words, Yi-min breaks down and cries. He feels guilty that despite doing so much wrong, Yi-heon still considers him a good person. Yi-min's little sister watches all this sadly. Meanwhile, Yi-heon's mother's health improves and she asks if he likes any girl because his behavior has changed. Yi-heon says no, but his mother reveals a shocking truth. His father has always been with many women, he even got the secretary an apartment. Hearing this, Yi-heon angrily sends his friends to catch the secretary, but when they reach the apartment, the secretary has already fled. On the other side, Yi-min is so inspired by Yi-heon's words that he brings about change in his home. He cooks for his little sister, cleans the house, and promises that now they will eat together at home instead of him wandering outside. Time passes and the day of the court hearing finally arrives. On one side are the real police and on the other are Yi-heon and Si-kyung. Suddenly, Si-kyung's father comes and tries to drag him away, and right at that moment, Yi-min makes a dramatic entrance. He apologizes to Yi-heon and says he will now stand with the bullies. But then a flashback shows the scene from the previous day when Yi-heon's mother was looking lovingly at her son and the gang leader Chil-sung arrives. He says he came to meet Deuk-pal's son. Yi-heon's mother refuses to believe it, but Chil-sung clearly states, "Yes, he is your son." He advises the mother to quit drugs and take care of her son. That is the duty of true parents. Hearing this, Yi-heon's mother is lost in thought. Back in the courtroom, Yi-min shocks everyone. He says he will betray Yi-heon, but he actually betrays the bullies. He snatches a bully's tablet and hands over all the bullying videos to the police. With this, a huge fight breaks out in the courtroom. Even Si-kyung stands up and fights against his father. In this way, the police finally get all the videos and Yi-min takes full responsibility there. He clearly states that he and his friends used to harass Yi-heon. Hearing this, Yi-heon, the gangster, stops him and says he shouldn't have turned himself in but should have gone to university because his father worked so hard to save money. But Yi-min smiles and says he feels at peace now because his heart is light. He also thanks Yi-heon for feeding him whenever he was hungry. After this, the bullies and Yi-min are all arrested. Even in the police car, a bully says that when he gets out of jail, he will take revenge on Yi-heon. But Yi-min angrily replies, "If you even touch Yi-heon, I will end you," and in this way they are taken to the reformatory. But suddenly Yi-min sees the spirit of the old Yi-heon. He apologizes to him and they have an emotional farewell scene. On the other side, the gangster meets his gang leader in the hospital, who was like a father to him. There, the leader says he now understands that he is actually Deuk-pal. He hugs him and asks, "Did you come back so you could study?" But Deuk-pal says, "No, I only came back to save that boy Yi-heon." Then he jokes that studying is very difficult, but he has now reached level 4 in the exam. To this, the leader emotionally says, "You will always be number 1 to me." Hearing this, Deuk-pal's eyes fill with tears and the two say goodbye. Meanwhile, Yi-heon's mother's condition also improves. Her alcohol addiction has lessened, and she is about to return home. Deuk-pal tells her not to depend on the president anymore and to stand on her own feet. But the mother cries, saying she hasn't worked in 20 years and doesn't have enough money to send her son to university. To this, Deuk-pal says, "Don't worry, we will both find a way." Just then he finds out that the president and the secretary are returning from a business trip. The gangster and his friends go straight to the airport and confront the president face to face. Here the gangster tells his father all the truth, that the secretary gave his mother hallucinogenic drugs, had her kidnapped, and even tried to send the gangster to reform school. Hearing this, the president flares up and is about to fire the secretary. He tells her to apologize to his son. Then the gangster angrily throws a glass of water on him and clearly says, "Stay away from my mother and me from now on." The gangster starts to leave, but the president stops him and says he is proud of him and will now truly be his father. But the gangster rejects him and says, "Never look for me again." Later, the gangster thanks his friends and calls his mother. There, his mother happily tells him that she has completely quit her addiction and will become an actress again to be independent. The gangster supports her and both promise to take control of their lives together. And finally, the gangster meets the real Yi-heon. In fact, he had seen him before, sometimes with Yi-min, sometimes with the gang leader, and sometimes holding his mother's hand. The real Yi-heon smiles and tells him, "Everything really is better now." To this, the gangster says, "Yes, everything is better now. My grades have improved, the bullies are gone, my mother has conquered her addiction, and the secretary won't be able to bother them anymore." The gangster also tells Yi-heon that when he returns to his real body, he should live life well because he only has 1 week left. Hearing this, Yi-heon tells him to tell the truth to his friend the gangster and Si-kyung, but the gangster says it's too difficult because he doesn't want to say goodbye. At school, his female friends were worried about him. His friend Min-hee then says she still hasn't forgiven him because he called her face round and cute. To this, the gangster laughs and says that the other girl is actually not his type, but Min-hee is his type because her features are very lovely. Hearing this, Min-hee's face lights up and she forgives him. After this, the basketball team captain apologizes to the gangster, and the gangster also forgives him but lays down a condition. He must delete Si-kyung's father's number and become a true friend to Si-kyung. Then the gangster says he will now follow his own path. Late at night, the gangster keeps his promise and goes to a cafe with the tea girl. There, the girl reveals her feelings to him. But the gangster thanks her and says he needs 2 days to answer because the real Yi-heon will return by then, and he will be the one to decide. The next day, we find out that Si-kyung is no longer afraid of his father. He clearly says that his best friend is Yi-heon. He also starts a part-time job to become independent. During this time, the captain also apologizes for being his father's informant and says he wants to be friends. Si-kyung forgives him but says, "I'll think about it." Suddenly, Si-kyung finds out that his friend is changing schools, so he runs to meet him. There, the gangster reveals the truth. He shows him a grave and tells him that his name is Deuk-pal. He was a gang leader who died falling off a bridge while saving Yi-heon. He didn't want to reveal this secret because Si Kyung is his friend. But now, when the real Yi-heon returns, the gangster Deuk-pal will disappear forever. Hearing this, Si Kyung is broken because the gangster had become his first true friend in life. Suddenly, the spirit of the real Yi-heon appears before Si Kyung. Si Kyung hugs him and cries because he blamed himself for never saving him at school. They have a deep conversation there, and a flashback shows that Yi-heon had asked Si Kyung for help at that time to report his situation to the police since his father was a prosecutor, but Si Kyung refused out of fear. Then Yi-heon had said that if he didn't help, he would tell everyone his secret, that his father used to beat him and that they just showed off a perfect family from the outside. Hearing this, Si Kyung felt that Yi-heon had grasped his darkest secret, and in that anger he threw him out of the house. A few days later, Yi-heon disappeared from school and Si Kyung lived his entire life in guilt. But now, Yi-heon says it wasn't his fault but that he should have stood up for himself just like Deuk-pal did. And in this way, Si Kyung and Yi-heon promise to be friends and say they will always support each other now. Meanwhile, the gangster meets Dong-soo, his old gang partner. Dong-soo says he now knows that he is indeed Deuk-pal, his beloved boss. Hearing this, Deuk-pal thanks him for always being loyal. Dong-soo emotionally says that he was very happy working with Deuk-pal, and even if he gets another life, he will never forget him. The two friends cry and laugh as they have a final drink. After this, Si Kyung cries and tells the gangster that he is the first and true best friend of his life and wants him to always stay with him. The gangster smiles and replies that he is happy to hear that, but it is time for him to leave. He assures Si Kyung that he will definitely become a wonderful person and will never give up. The two hug one last time with tears in their eyes and say goodbye. In the meantime, just as the gangster is about to leave, Yi-heon comes up to him and tells him to stay in his body and live life because he is already tired. Yi-heon says that he gave up everything when he jumped off the bridge. He thanks the gangster for bringing smiles back to his body, but the gangster refuses, saying he cannot take his life. Yi-heon smiles and says he would be happy if someone could truly be happy in his body. Hearing this, the gangster finally makes his decision, and Yi-heon says goodbye with a smile and leaves forever. Now the gangster remains in Yi-heon's body. Time passes and he and Si Kyung become best friends at university. The gangster now studies diligently, goes on blind dates and starts life anew. Meanwhile, his old gang friends Jongchul, Dong-soo and all the others open a cafe together. And in this way our story ends, a story that taught us that true strength lies not just in fighting but in brotherhood, loyalty and true friendship.